Yes. Oh, yes.
Can you talk a little about that?
Well, the articles, that's a long two-part article on my webpage. I published that in 2005 in Cultural Logic. Here's the story about that. I was starting out, that was one of my first pieces. I've been doing this intensively for about 10 years. That was, I think, the first piece, or one of the first pieces I wrote. That doesn't represent my own research. That is what I did there was I read some really good primary research that's done in Russian, that's done by some Russian researchers. And I conveyed that to an English-speaking audience. So, I mean, I think that was a useful thing to do. I hope it was a useful thing to do. But I don't want to claim that the research there was mine. I'm simply conveying to the English-speaking audience research done by others. That having been said, I could encourage you all to read the article.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, Stalin believed that the Soviet Union needed to be run a different way. That you needed to have some sort of formal democratic setup, and that the party's role should not be running the society, but should be a more political role, which is winning people to the ideas of communism. And he thought that was that the party. He thought that it wasn't good that the party should just run society. Now that the crisis was over, he believed. Of course, it turned out that the crisis wasn't over, but he thought it was. So I just present that as a very interesting idea. And Stalin fought very hard for this democratic constitution. We all know that the Constitution of 1936, the so-called Stalin Constitution, came out, and the Stalin Constitution called for competitive elections. All right, competitive candidates, and it was never implemented. The competitive candidates were never implemented, but it's in the Constitution. So this is the story of how Stalin and some of his supporters fought for that, and it was defeated.
And didn't it have to do with like rectifying the party? Or?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, he thought that this was distorting the society and also the party. I got time for one more question, guys. One more question, because we got to. So I'm going to ask somebody who hasn't asked one yet. This lady hasn't asked one yet.
I don't have a question, but I have a book that I read called Operation Splinter Factory.
Oh, I don't know that one.
You don't know that one?
No, Operation
Splitter Factor.
Splitter Factor.
It's about the sabotage of the Soviet Union by Dulles.
Okay.
And
I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to take a look at it.
Who wrote it, but it's an old book, but it debunks the attacks on Stalin, the way they tried to manipulate, the U.S. tried to manipulate Stalin.
Great. I wrote down the time. Okay, one more. Yes, ma'am. You had your hand up for a long time.
You know what? I'm Russian.
You're Russian. Okay.
Yes, I am. But you know what? Thank you very much for you. Thank you very much for your book and for everything you have done and you are doing. But you know what? Let people ask you questions, please. But again, you know, you have answered. I have written questions. You have actually answered almost all the questions. But just excuse me for my just ideas. Jumping from one topic to another topic. Every book that writes truth is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you say Stalin, yes, when I came, I have been here for 20 years, was married to an American guy, very nice. And well, he, okay, just, and from day one here, I hear when people say, you're Russian, Stalin Gulag. Excuse me, Stalin was only, whatever you know about him, I don't know as much as you do about Stalin to begin with, but I was 13 and a half when Stalin died, and well, there was a picture in the auditorium at school, and we were standing, teachers, and we were crying, and you know, that's it. You know, but when people say, cult, what is cult? When I came here, well, you see your presidents and everyone on every corner, but demonizing, you know, again, like I said, I don't know much about Stalin. I read his daughter's book, Alleluia, she lives in Wisconsin, Svetlana Alleluia, 20
letters to her.
letters to a friend. But my point is, you know, Stalin, Napoleon killed millions of people. He's a national hero. Churchill killed zillions of people in South North Africa, here and there, all over the world. He is a national hero. Stalin, because it is Russia, because it is the Soviet Union. And I have noticed, oh well, even last year there was a there were fires, horrible fires, you know. And the American guy, I don't know the Times or whatever I wrote. Well, Moscow, you know, these blindless, you know, Russian blindless windows, you know, anything in my country, if it is Russian, then it is bad. You know, when I came to this country, for example, when I saw these blinds, sorry to say about these trifles, but it is important, you know, because people demonize Russians, and I'm Russian, and, you know, it's kind of, I'm internationalist, I'm a pacifist and stuff, but when I saw these blinds, I said, my goodness, I have never ever seen more ugly on your windows as these blinds. But I don't yell at every corner in the Soviet, in Russia that it is bad, it is, you know, something like that. And I wish American people everything good, and they're wonderful people here. But you know what? My question may be again naive. I came late. I apologize. But you know, when you worked, where did you go see? What archive did you work with the document? It is very important. You know what? Yes, actually, what happened in my country, and it was just a very interesting experiment. No, we didn't know what to do sometimes because it was the very first experience, how to build this, how to build that. But a lot of, what do you call them, prejudices about my country. For example, just no synagogues. It is not really my city. I came from Samara, Kuybyshev, on the Volga. You know, I was in the synagogue in Kuybyshev, I was in synagogue in Odessa, and in my extended family, there are Tatars, I'm Russian, Tatars, Greeks, Lithuanians, I can give you names, and Jews, and you know, and we never say, you are Russian, you are a Jew, you are a Tatar. You know, when I came to this country, I was surprised when I went to the college. What is your nationality? Yeah. Why do you need my nationality? Excuse me. Oh, well, statistics and stuff. You know what? Don't ask me. You know, I am a human being. That's it. And
there's a song. There was a popular song in the Soviet, right? Saying that. Мой адрес не дом и не улица, мой адрес Советский Союз. My address, it's a popular song. My address is not a street, not a street, not a city, not a house number. My address is the Soviet Union, meaning
brothers and sisters, you know,
meaning it's international
I was
unity.
told when I came to this country, because, sorry to say that racism, you know, it hurts. Like I say, even I was president of the international club at my university. And you know, now I hear about this, something happens on the race base. You know, it hurts. You know, it hurts absolutely.
I think that.
But
the reason that there's anti-Russian sentiment is ultimately because of anti-communism. It's ultimately because the Soviet Union was the first.
It is ignorance. Yeah, you know, again, one more example and my naive question again. You know, when we lived for 7 years in San Francisco, you know, I was at the bus station, and you know, the bus station, this, they have posters.
Excuse me, you guys have to leave right now?
I've got to talk somewhere else, I'm sorry.
What's that?
I have to talk somewhere else, I'd love to
Okay, you know what, speaking about this, and posters have pictures, you know that. And one of the posters was hammer and sickle, thank you, excuse my English, and you know, red, and blood, 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 blood. And you know what, if I'm, for example, a 17-year American girl, I know nothing about the Soviet Union, Russia, or whatever, and I see this symbol.
Yeah.
What do I think?
And
What do I think? Why don't you Americans respect yourself? If we in Russia now put these bloody things about Afghanistan or whatever, you know, what do you, how come?
I hear you.
You know,
Thanks for I know that you want to go those things. Okay, so if you would like to buy a copy of the book, I'm here and I'll be glad to autograph it for you. If not, I would like to thank you very much for attending my talk. I feel very honored that you've all come. I will be, if you do think of ordering the book for a library, that would be very good. Yes?
I have one final question.
Okay.
So what was the motivation for Khrushchev, I suppose it's in the book, what was the motivation for Khrushchev to denounce Stalin?
Okay, that's the speech, that's what I call in the book the secret speech that remains secret, right? He gave reasons, but those weren't the real reasons. We really don't know. I have something to say about that in there, and yes, you have to say that.
Two quick announcements.
Announcements.
If you have